It's almost redundant to go after John Edwards at this point. Everybody has already established the fact that this guy is the biggest douche in the universe. However, today what I thought I'd do is that I'd look over a video that was initially called John Edward Poorly Cold Reading, but he actually does a great job. It makes me ill inside to give John Edwards any sort of compliment. However, I think that the cold reading displayed in this video is actually great, and I thought that it was worthy of a virgin look at through the eyes of course, the biggest professional virgin in the planet, your boy PigCake.
Mediumship is not a cure for grief. It can be very therapeutic and very healing and very helpful. It can be extremely empowering when you understand the process. But if you're looking for a reading to fix your grief, it does not. So I want to be very, very clear.
Very interesting disclaimer to put before any sort of reading starts, especially because you are setting the expectations for the audience not to be super high. You're really kind of telling them, hey, this isn't really a cure. This is something that is more therapeutic than anything. It's very different than when you typically see readings now where they just start off with this whole diatribe on, oh, we're going to talk about souls. Did somebody die recently? I feel something in the neck, something like they had a hard time breathing.
I'm ready to go. There's a younger male energy in this section that makes me feel like this would be son, nephew, grandson. There is a Cancer connection that comes up here. Does this make sense? Where's Robert, Robbie, Rob? Where's the R?
Younger male energy. I feel like this is going to be a nephew, a son, a grandson. Now here he goes into what is the crux of cold reading, which is taking guesses. In this case, shooting out your net wide and then honing in when somebody grabs on. Personally, I think John Edwards thrives when it comes to upplaying the impact of his hits and really downplaying the misses. Here, we're going to see that he takes a bunch of guesses. As a matter of fact, he calls out Cancer. He also takes a shot at a Rob, a Robbie, a Robert. In this case, a lot of different possibilities for him to move forward with. But in the span of, I would say, less than 10 seconds, he's already shot out approximately 9 or 10 different things that the audience could latch onto.
Can I get the mic to you guys over here? The 4 of you all together? The 3 of you? Okay. Robert?
My father.
Passed?
Yes.
Okay. Cancer?
No.
Where's the bone issue?
There's 2. There's my grandfather and his mom.
Somebody had something that affected their bone.
His mom.
She had bone cancer. So your mom had the bone cancer?
Yes.
Okay, and passed from that?
Yes.
You see how he just Tokyo drifts right away when he realizes that Cancer is not going to be a hit for Robert, but maybe he mentioned something to do with the bone. Now, the bone is a very generic term. He doesn't go into specifics, but that could be interpreted by the audience member however they see fit. And in this case, they see fit that it happens to be the way that the mom died or the mom of the partner. But bone could be anything. It could be a sprained ankle. It could be a broken bone. It could be absolutely anything that the person decides to interpret their information on. And of course, John Edwards is going to take credit for knowing that. There are a couple lines that I'm going to steal personally. In this case, the bone one, I think it's great because it's so generic, but it seems so specific that how else would you know unless you knew? And the other one is actually coming up in a little bit.
She's making me feel like when she passes either around or on a governmental holiday, or something that would be celebratory, but for the country.
My father.
I'm seeing the American flag. So
Yeah,
when I see the flag,
my father.
yeah, when I see that, it lets me know that we're talking about like either July
September 11th.
Yeah, it's July 4th, Veterans Day, Memorial Day. Did he pass in the September 11th?
Yes. He's a fireman.
A bunch to unpack with that little back and forth. In this case, he starts by saying, when she passes, I feel like she's going to pass on or around a governmental holiday. Now, again, that use of the word passes is very specific in that he's not necessarily sure if she's actually passed on from bone cancer. So that could be interpreted both for the past and the present. So he could just reinterpret that for whatever it is that the participant gives him a reaction for. Now, luckily for John Edwards, what he gets is a hit with the other partner. Notice that he started off very adamantly trying to figure out when this person's mom passed away, but when he gets that hit on the American flag, that's where he latches on to the other person and then immediately goes from there. Now, John Edwards inadvertently kind of shows his hand here because he says that he sees an American flag. Now, the person latches that to 9/11. However, he goes, yeah, typically when I see an American flag, it's to do with July 4th, Veterans Day, Memorial Day. So technically, he's admitting to the audience that that could have been interpreted either one of those directions, which I think is a fantastic method because in shooting that out there, character and putting that in the audience, the participant is going to be the one themselves that makes the attribution to whatever date it happens to correspond to. And those dates vary throughout the entirety of the year. So you have a wide scope as to when you could take an educated guess as to when any event took place by just saying, oh, I see that this took place with something like a celebration, an American flag. And he even started off as generic as saying as a government holiday, which could be interpreted as any government holiday.
Your dad is Robert. We already
Yes.
addressed that. Are you the baby girl of the family?
I'm the only
The
girl.
oldest girl.
Okay. He's making me feel like you're the baby girl. Like that's how it's coming across to me. He's also making me feel like, is his mother still here? He's telling me to acknowledge
Yes.
his mom.
Yes.
We need to make sure that his mom knows that he came through. She needs a big hug. Okay? A
She'll get
huge hug. I always say that, as mom, there's no greater loss than the loss of a child. Don't lose sight of that as a feeling. Okay?
I do love watching the husband's reaction, waiting for when it's going to be his turn again, because John Edwards completely dismissed him and is now focusing on the woman and her situation exclusively. And it's also a good educated guess to take that the mother of the victim is still alive, because this was shot with reasonable proximity to 9/11, and the mom would technically still be alive because it wasn't anything of a person dying of old age. It was an unfortunate tragedy. So it is a good guess to take in that. Then all you have to do is just fill in the blanks with some generic blabble like, oh, they really miss you, they want to give you a hug, and then you get the reaction.
Now, you talked to him that day?
Yes, I did.
What I
Yes.
don't understand, though, is from him, is he's doing something very different for me than I think the norm would be for what he would do. So if he normally did ABC as a firefighter, that day he did 1, 2, 3 in addition to ABC.
It was his first day back to work after surgery.
Okay.
And he was working at a different firehouse.
Because my feeling is that he wasn't
He made the doctor put him back to work.
he wasn't doing what he normally would be doing.
See, it's all up to the participant to come up and to fill in the blanks. All you have to do is come up with these generic statements like he did something different that day. What did he do different? And now the participant is racking their head trying to figure out what is it that he did different. And that could be interpreted as anything. Now, when the participant, of course, mentions something that he could have done different, John Edwards takes the credit and he latches onto that. I mentioned techniques like this extensively on the PigCake Magic Academy, the home of over 1,500 videos going over card stuff, coin stuff, everything you need to become the best magician you could possibly be. However, I'm talking specifically about the Mentalism Academy. That's right, the mind reading side of things that gets you learning things that makes you probably a better performer than John Edwards. Techniques like cold reading, techniques like being able to tell a participant a name that they're thinking of, a date, maybe an important number, things like that. Check out the Academy. It's $5 a month. I think it's very reasonable. The mentalism side of things is $10 a month, but those videos are a little bit more extensive. And on top of that, I'm always uploading new content. So why not? Check it out, baby.
And do you have 2 boys?
I do now, yes.
he's
My
two-
young other son passed away last year.
He's telling me to talk about
The-
2 boys. So you lost your son after your husband?
Yes.
That's his son as well?
I had 3 sons.
Right, but one of them has passed
Yes.
after him.
Yes.
So it's your brother who passed?
Yeah.
It's so funny. It's like they don't want to talk about it. Was he killed? Just yes or no, as best as you can.
No.
What I'm being shown is his passing is swift and fast and not an illness. That's why I said, is he being killed? Was he killed? And the reason why I said that is he's not taking the responsibility on for how he got there. So if he's not taking on responsibility, my immediate feeling would be, well, something had to happen to him.
In this last section, I think, is where John Edwards shat the bed. In the beginning, I thought that he was doing a great job as to getting a nice cold read on this audience or these particular participants, and I thought it was good. Now, he took a guess on, I believe, the death of the kid, and it didn't necessarily work out well. He's out here fumbling and bumbling, and he does the classic psychic ruse of reinterpreting information in a certain way based on this person that cannot speak for themselves. This is very often done when a psychic or medium is backed up into a corner and they really can't get out of it. So what they do is that they try to military roll out of the situation by reinterpreting what they said based on what this person that has passed on is telling him, or they do it with humor, like Teresa Caputo, the Long Island psychic. She'll just make some dumb joke and move on. Now, at the end clip, he does reinterpret it as a suicide. So he goes in and says that what he meant was that the person doesn't want to admit to themselves that that they didn't act like that. And of course, it becomes a little bit of a fumble. But I thought it was a great lesson in cold reading. I think the line about the bone is a great one. The one about the holiday, so in this case, the government holiday, is great. And especially if you could kind of reinterpret that. The flag one is a great save as well, because that could be multiple times throughout the year. And the participant could be the one that tells the date themselves, so you get a hit for that. So I thought those are great techniques to add if you are deciding to get into the world of cold reading. Maybe you're a budding mentalist and you want to supplement your current work with little things like this. Those are great lines to add in, especially the one about the bone, because it's something that's unintrusive, and everyone has an issue with a bone at some point, whether that's a broken bone or maybe a sprained or a dislocated something. Everybody has had one of those at some point in their life, so they're going to latch onto that and you're going to get a hit. Although the only hit that I'm looking forward to is the hit that I'm going to get in the nuts.
I see you again, when 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 I see you again.